design by doing, right? You design in the shop, you don't design on the paper. You have to be immersed in the process of what you're doing, and then things just emerge. I don't only do that in the studio or in the shop, I do that in my life. So my life and my studio work influence each other to a large extent. I'm Peter Tucker, and this is Disposition. I think the biggest influence or the biggest motivator for why I'm creating art now has to do with being adopted. It's always been this search to try to understand who I am and my identity. Identity it's not just who we are, but it's how we are mirrored by those around us. That forms our identity. And so being adopted, it's like having something severed and then having to reestablish connection somehow. I made a connection with nature because I had to go back that far to really feel a connection. And then it became absolutely necessary in my life to be out in the woods, to be out in the fields. And so a lot of the work that I do, I think, stems from that experience. In most of the woodworking I do, it's comprised of complex joinery. And I've been doing that for a long time. There's something about taking pieces and putting them together that I'm fascinated with. Again, because it represents how we put our lives together. Every day we make all these choices, and each choice leads to the next part of the process of the next day. And then we, again, collect these memories as we go, and we keep putting them together. It's what life is, I think. It's only by looking back that we can see whether our life has been good or not, because of the many different parts that have been put together. So I think that's a theme that runs through all the work. The base of effort, I left rough and used very complex joinery to put that section together so I could use large pieces. And as it progresses, the pieces get smaller and smaller and smaller and are carved away. Just as we grow, we kind of carve away and we curtail our lives, and we find our niche, or we find a certain form that we fit. And then it ends. And that's basically what it's about. Just the struggle to just come into the world and find our way and find it and create an identity. The two elements to reflection, the canoe and the river of plastic, they were completely separate ideas. The process of putting the cedar strips together for a canoe takes a lot of effort. It's quite the process, and I did it without staples, so I had all these little jigs with clamps that you use to conform the strips into the hull. There's a real issue with plastic in the oceans and in waterways and just everywhere. So at some point I just thought of putting the two together, and then I realized that I had all these different colors of plastic. I thought it was a perfect combination, having the canoe on a river of plastic and then be able to create the reflection. The reflection at first seems like it's beautiful, and it's on this beautiful, on water, until you get up close and you realize what it really is. And then it still doesn't lose its beauty, which is strange. When you put work out there, I don't want to necessarily influence how people see the work. I think it's best for them to experience it themselves and have their own interpretation or have their own interaction with it. It means different things for different people. And I think that's a good thing. Like, they may not pick up on what I'm going through, and I wouldn't expect them to. Again, for me, it's very personal. It has a lot to do with adoption and identity. For somebody else, it could be completely different. And this is what I appreciate about sculpture, is that you have to look at it from many different angles. It's not like a painting where you approach it from a specific viewpoint. You get to walk around it, and it has to work in, all views in the surround, which is yeah, it's a fun exploration.